All right, we've been in this message series that we're calling It Happens, and this is actually week 8. We've been in this thing for a couple of months. And really kind of the bottom line, kind of the bottom principle of this is that you have dreams, right? Do you have dreams? Right, dream, not just dreams at night, like dreams for your life. Do you dream about what your life will be like? I'm not the only one here. There's 2 people over there, okay? You have dreams, right? And here's kind of the picture that I have. And let's just say, for illustration, your dreams are like over there where that wall is, okay? And you're here, right? And your dreams are over there. Now, unless you win the lottery or you win The Voice or you win America's Got Talent or something, your dreams are going to be more like you take steps, right? There's between here and your dream, right? There's 100 steps or 50 steps or 2,000 steps, and you kind of you make progress along the way. But you have dreams, right? Like goals that you want to like type the family you want to have, or the kind of income you want to have, or the house you want to live in, or the car you want to drive, or how you want to look and feel, and all that. So you've got dreams, right? And they're over there, but you're here. Right? And here's what's interesting is for some of you who maybe have reached your dream or reached some of your dreams, you realize that sometimes when you get to your dreams, it's not really what you thought, that they're actually empty. And there's also this weird thing about your dreams or your goals is kind of as you get there, they're this perpetual kind of thing. Is like you get there and guess what? Oh, the wall's not the wall anymore, and it keeps going, right? And so there's this idea of dreams, and we've been talking about this dreams of reaching your dreams and reaching your purpose. And so today, as we kind of wrap up part 8 of this idea, I want to talk about something as it relates to your dreams, as it relates to your happiness, as it relates to your fullness, to your contented. I want to talk about something that is so counterintuitive. And this principle, what we're going to talk about today, is really life-changing if it were applied. And so today I want to look at something that's so counterintuitive as it relates to you. It relates to your fullness, to your happiness, to your contentedness, to your joy, to your sense of accomplishment. In fact, this idea that I'm going to talk about today, it's really so counterintuitive that you almost don't believe it. Like some of you are going to just push back on me and go, yeah, that's cute up there, Pastor Greg. That's cool, but that's not really true. You're going to push back on this idea, but for some of you who actually experienced this, and as we talk about this, you're going to be like, okay, that's a good reminder that emphasizes or re-emphasizes something that you already know as it relates to your dreams and to your happiness and to your fullness. And so here's the bottom line, okay? You're going to see it on the screen. Here's the bottom line today. As long as you are all about you, you won't be full. You won't be happy. You won't be content. If it's all about you, if all of your dreams, if all of your hopes, if all of your desires are all about you, you'll never be full. You will never be happy. You will never be content. No matter what you have, no matter what you accomplish, no matter what you reach as far as success, as long as it's about you, you cannot, not will not, like no, you cannot be full. You can't be happy. You can't be content. Because here's the idea is you cannot fulfill you. You need more than you have to offer. You need more than you have to offer. In fact, if we're able to somehow if you were able to somehow get exactly what you wanted, and if you could actually get yourself exactly how you wanted, and you were the right size and had the right income and lived in the right house and you had the right car and the right job and the right clothes, if you could get yourself like exactly crafted like from a computer exactly how you wanted, you still would not be enough. You wouldn't be full. You wouldn't be happy. You wouldn't be content. Now this seems a little counterintuitive, because we just naturally think, right? My kids, they're young. My oldest is 8 years old, but they just naturally think, like, if I could just get things a certain way, if I could just have things a certain way, if I could live a certain way, if I could have a certain health and a certain look and a certain income, then I would be set. That would be great. But here's the truth, right? And we all know this at some level. We push against this, but we all know this. And so today's a little bit of a reminder. Here's the truth is you cannot acquire, consume, or even exercise your way to fullness. You can't acquire, consume, or exercise your way to happiness. You can't acquire, consume, or exercise your way to contentedness. It's just not possible. Now, just to be sure we're on the same page here, I want to just think about this idea of what do you do? Like how do we do when it comes to this idea of acquiring and consuming and exercising, right? And I'm guilty of this. So this is not me up here like pointing my finger at you. This is what we all do. Here's what we do is we look at other people. We look at what other people acquire, and we look at what other people consume, and not just food, but like what they consume, like things. And we look at the way people look, and we tell ourselves, we whisper to ourselves in our heads, and we look at these people and we say, if I could just acquire that, if I could just drive that, if I could just look like that, if I could just work there, if my kids would just do that, then somehow I would be set. I would have it. I'd be full, and I'd be happy, and I'd be content, and I'd be full of joy, and I would just be okay. But here's what's so crazy, and this is deceitful, right? Inside of ourselves. Here's what we do. Okay, I do this, you do this. It's what we do is we look at a whole bunch of people, and we look at different people, and what we do is we kind of create a composite person. You know what a composite person is? Right? A composite person is we don't just look at one person, we actually look at dozens of people, right? And so I look at dozens of people, right? And I look at them and go, well, if I could have his house, and if I could have his car, and I could have his health, and if I could look like that, and those muscles, and if I could have that, and you put it all together. So you take the highlights from all of like 12 different people, and you put it together, and you create this composite person. And when you do that, you look at the highlights of someone, you look at their highlight reel, and you put together this composite person, then all of a sudden, I start feeling very discontented with my life. And suddenly, I don't feel so good about myself. And suddenly, I'm unhappy. And I'm not looking at an individual. There's no one that I would just say, hey, I would just love to just trade places. Like one person, like everything of me and everything of that person, I'll hit a button and just switch places. There's no one that I would just switch places with, right? But we take this little bit of highlights from every little person, and we take a little bit of that and a little bit of that, and we put together this composite, this fake person, and we create this. And when that happens, what we do, without meaning to, what we do is we become a little too focused, sometimes hyper-focused on becoming something that we are not. And I'm all about self-improvement and exercise and discipline. In fact, we did a whole week 3 of this It Happens, was on this idea of leading yourself well, how to lead the person you see in the mirror. But what we're talking about today is that when you become consumed with you, no matter how much progress you make, no matter what you accomplish, when you become consumed with you, you continue to be unhappy and discontented, right? I still haven't found what I'm looking for. It's this perpetual looking and seeking and trying to be something that you're not. And so it says here, you cannot acquire, consume, or even exercise your way to contentedness, to fullness, to happiness. Now here's the thing. Here's kind of the big idea, and this is going to be hard for you to believe because it's really even hard for me to believe on the surface. But here it is. You may not be able to acquire, consume, and exercise your way to fullness and happiness and contentedness, but you can serve and volunteer your way there. You believe that's just like crazy and amazing and hard to believe and thought-provoking all at the same time, right? And if you don't believe me, okay, later today, not right now, if you just Google, right, if you go to Google and you Google, is there a connection between happiness and selflessness? Is there a connection between health and selflessness? Is there a connection between happiness and health and volunteering? You will discover that research project after research project after research project comes to the same conclusion, that there is actually a connection, a deep connection between people's happiness, between people's health and their willingness to be selfless. In fact, if you Google it, one of the first ones you may see was a research done by the University of Chicago, and they did this several years ago, and they asked a question in their research project: what is the most fulfilling career? What is the most fulfilling job? And they made this list of fulfilling careers, of satisfying jobs from top to bottom, and here's just the summary of the top 4. The jobs were, from top to bottom, jobs that were caring for others, teaching others, protecting others, and creative pursuits like artists and photography and things like that. Like the top, the most fulfilling, most satisfying jobs, as they discovered, were about others. And here's what's interesting, is if you look deep into the research, none of this none of this had any correlation to the amount of income that you made. There was no association with the amount of money. Now, they said basically, if you had enough money to basically live inside and have utilities and pay your bills and eat, then money didn't matter at all. It was just what you did for others. There was another study that came along a few years ago in the UK, actually, and this one was interesting because what they did is they looked at 40 studies, right? So they looked at 40 different studies around this, and they asked this question: is there a connection between happiness and selflessness? Is there a connection between serving and volunteering and feeling happy and content and full? And so they looked at this, and here's what they found. They said they found that if you volunteer, and this is not like, oh yeah, I volunteered once back in 2015. This is like, if you have a lifestyle of serving and volunteering, they found this, and here's what they found. They found that volunteering actually decreases, it lowers, it reduces depression, it lowers heart disease, it reduces your chance of drug use, of being addicted to drugs. It lowers stress. It lowers the potential for unplanned pregnancy. In fact, and then on the flip side, on the positive side, they said that volunteering increases. It actually improves. It improves your psychological well-being, your physical health, your self-esteem, your longevity, and your quality of life. And the study concludes that people who serve, people who volunteer, they're just healthier. They're healthier mentally, they're healthier physically, they have a higher self-esteem, and they actually live longer and have a higher quality of life. And I mean, it's just crazy. There's just tons and tons of research out there. In fact, another research said that those who volunteer regularly, those who serve others regularly, they actually have a healthier immune system. That by volunteering and serving, it actually helps you fight disease. Now, how can this be? I mean, this just seems like just logically. I'm kind of a logical thinker, and it seems logically like backwards. It's like this doesn't seem right. Because my natural inclination, right, just the way that I'm wired, the way that I get up every morning, is to acquire and consume and to try to look my best. But yet research all over the world, time and time again, asking different questions to different groups of people, comes to this same conclusion. That one of the best things you can do for yourself is to not be so much about yourself. That selflessness leads to happiness. That selflessness leads to better sense of well-being. That selflessness ultimately leads to better health. I mean, how is this? How can behaving selflessly make you happier? How is it that behaving selflessly can actually make you feel more content or more full or more at peace? Now, it's interesting. I know some of you in this room, right? You came here early this morning. Some of you may not know this, but there's a team of people that show up really early, like 7 a.m., some people 8 a.m. They get here early. There's a team of people right now volunteering with our kids behind those walls over there, right? And you come and you give yourself away, like you serve and you give, right? And you go home at lunch after all this is over and you're tired and exhausted, but what's that feeling you have, right? You just feel full. Like, what is that? What is that? Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, how can this be? Right? It seems like there's part of you that's like, yeah, okay, I'm following you, and then there's another part of you that's fighting back going, this just seems backwards. This seems backwards. I mean, it's not logical, which makes sense why so many people don't. Right? There's a lot of people that just don't do it. Well, I'm busy. Man, I got a lot going on, or work is so busy right now. There's just so many projects, and thanks school, I've just got so many assignments and things I got to do. I'm just busy, right? But if you look at the research, if you just look at the research, you would say, well, how can you not? How can you not serve and volunteer? I mean, as strange as it sounds, like one of the best things you can do is to quit doing so much for you. And one of the best things you could do for your family is for your family to do something for someone else. One of the best ways to fill yourself up is actually to pour yourself out. Again, this seems so counterintuitive, but why is this? How is this? I get research, right, and what it says, but why? What is this at our core? I think it comes down to two words, and here's the two words I think. Divine design. I think we were created by our Creator to live with open hands. We were created by our Creator to live one another, right? In the last part of the Bible, it's called the New Testament. It's literally just a bunch of letters to the churches. There's all of these things where it says one another. Right? He says, love one another, care for one another, serve one another, forgive one another, carry one another's burden. Like there's just this on and on like list of one another's, and this idea of like you were designed by God to one another, one another. And here's the thing. Selfishness, right? No one has to teach you how to be selfish, right? We're born selfish. It just comes so naturally, right? If you're around babies or kids, right, what's one of the first words that a kid says? Me, mine. Get your hands off, I'm going to smack you in the nose, right? Right? Me, it's mine, right? It just, no one taught them like, hey, listen here, little toddler, here's what word you need to know, me, mine. No, they just start saying me, mine. Like selfishness just comes naturally. In fact, I would say it this way, selfishness is the result of brokenness. It's the result of brokenness. In part 5 of this message series, It Happens, we did an entire week on this idea of don't settle for the status quo, what's holding on to you, that's holding you back. If you missed that one, it'll be a good one to see. But we talked about this word sin, right? Sin, S-I-N. We talked about this word, and that's a loaded word. I throw that word out, and immediately, depending on your background or how you were raised or what you come up with some kind of definition. But the simple idea we said in week 5 was, if you look just in the teachings of Jesus in the New Testament, the idea of sin is anything that hurts you or anything that hurts the people around you. If it hurts you, if it's not good for you, if it's not good for your spouse, if it's not good for your kids, if it's not good for your coworkers, then it's sin. Because what does sin do? It breaks, it destroys, it kills, it breaks relationships. And sin separates, it isolates. And it isolates you from God, it isolates you from others, and worst of all, it isolates you from you. And anytime there's a challenge in your marriage, anytime there's a challenge at work, anytime you have any kind of relational challenge, what is it? What's at the root? Right? It's this ugly little word called sin, because sin breaks. Sin separates. And within the context of today's conversation, it even goes deeper, because sin separates us. Sin separates us into our own self-centered world, right? It's like you get into your own little bubble. It separates you into your own world. And I think we all know this. I mean, this isn't something new. I'm just reminding us of something we already know. But sin, as it's defined by Jesus in the New Testament, sin has a tendency to separate us into our own self-centered worlds, and it isolates you from me and me from you. And it's like it whispers in your ear. Right? Do you ever feel this way? I feel this way. I feel like sometimes there's just this whisper in my ear. It's like, hey, Greg, why don't you just spend all your time and your resources on you, and then you'll just be happy. Hey, Greg, if you get that, if you can get to that level or that income or that, hey, then you're going to be full, Greg. Then you're just going to have it. You're going to be all set. And almost every day, right, I fight those kind of whispers in my ear. But yet, observation and experience and even investigation and research says the opposite. That, hey, if you want to be full, like if you want to be filled, if you want to be happy, if you want to be content, then you should pour yourself out. You should give, because the way that God designed you to operate has been broken by sin. And we fall for this lie. This is where it's so deceitful. We fall for this lie, and it ultimately becomes all about me. And if I can do what I want to do, right, if I can fulfill my dreams and reach my income level and have my kind of family and drive my kind of car and look my kind of way, then I will be happy, and then I'll be full, and then I will be content. But again, time and time again, experience and research and everything shows us this is not the case. If you want to be full, you have to find a way to give yourself away. If you want to be happy, if you want to be content, you have to find a self to give yourself away. You'll never be full, you'll never be happy as long as it's only about you. If it's only about you, you'll never get there. Now, the guy named Paul, the Apostle Paul, who we talk about a lot around here, he was a first century guy who was guy that was actually killing and persecuting followers of Jesus at the time. They're called followers of the way. And he has this encounter with Jesus, and he goes to start to be a church planter. He starts to help start churches all over the known world at the time. And what he would do is he would write letters to these churches. And he would write these letters to these churches, and now we have most of these bounded in a little book that's on your chair we call the Bible, and it's called the New Testament. And so he would write these letters, and I want to show you today a letter that's just so rich. There's a lot of depth to this and a lot of deep theology, and we're not going to be able to get into all that today, but what I want you to see is he's going to contrast two different approaches to living. He's like, hey guys, there's a couple of different ways you could go here. You could live this way, and I'm going to show you that, or you could live this way, and he's going to show you the contrast, and it's actually going to be a really stark contrast. He says you can either live for yourself and fill yourself up and try to be about you, or you can give yourself away in order to be full and happy. And so here's what he says. It's in a letter to a church in Galatia. We call it Galatians. Galatians 5. You'll see this. Here it is. I'm just going to read this to you. Okay, again, he's writing to followers of Jesus. And he's saying, hey guys, the acts of the flesh. Okay, these are some words these are Bible kind of words we don't use. But he's basically saying, hey, your natural sinful nature, just the way that you naturally go, if you were not to fight against it, if you just kind of went default and just gone with the current, he says, the acts of the flesh are obvious. They're obvious. And he starts listing them. You don't really need a list, but he does. He says sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. Right? He's saying these are obvious. And you look at this list, and they really come down to this idea of appetites. Right? That we all have appetites. We all have things that we want. And we've said this in the past around here. We said the idea that your appetites are never fully satisfied. Because what happens, right? You can talk about food, you can talk about sex, you can talk about money, you can talk about whatever category you want to talk about. But what happens to an appetite when you feed it? It grows, right? You want more, right? You reach a certain level, and what do you want? I want more. I reach a certain level, and I want more. And you drive a certain car, and I want a better car. You drive a certain, I want more, right? Because appetites grow. And so when you feed an appetite, instead of it quenching the appetite, it actually continues to grow because you can't satisfy an appetite. And this is when you see people who just become so frustrated and angry because there's this perpetual chasing of appetites. Or you think about dreams, right? Like what I want, what I dream about, and you see people that actually get there, and you start talking to them, and there's actually this sense of emptiness. You think, well, I think when I get to that point, then I'm going to be full and have it all, and they're actually empty. And so what Paul is saying here is he's saying, hey guys, that our natural inclination, the way that we just go naturally because of sin, because of selfishness, right? And if we just give into it, if we say yes long enough, that we're going to find ourselves just wanting more. Their appetite is not going to be full. And then he contrasted, right? He says, okay, here's the idea of appetite. If you just follow your appetites and go that direction and live that way, you're gonna just keep wanting to fill all, and you can never get there. You can never do enough. He says, but let me contrast it. Let me show you. These are called the acts of the flesh, but let me flip it. And he does in verse 22, he says this, but the fruit of the Spirit is what? Many of you know this. You maybe learned this when you were a kid, right? There's songs about this. What are the fruit of the Spirit? Love, joy, peace, forbearance or patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. And what he says is, hey, when you get to the point where you just go, okay, Heavenly Father, I'm tired. I'm tired of trying on my own. I'm tired of trying to fill my appetites, and it's just not working. I've been trying to fill myself up. I've been trying to make myself happy. I've been trying to make myself content. But the harder I work to fill myself up, the less happy and the less full I get. And the harder I chase and the harder I try to satisfy these appetites that never satisfy me, I just become more frustrated and angry, and I'm in a bad mood, and I don't understand because I have more money than I ever had before, but it's not fulfilling. And Paul is saying, hey guys, it's the fruit of the Spirit. When you have the fruit of the Spirit, you can actually relax. You can stop chasing. You can stop pursuing. And you can say, hey, Kate, I get it, God. It's not all about me. It's not all about me and my desires and what I can get. It's not all about just being full and satisfied myself. God, it's about you. It's about others. I mean, could you imagine a family, right? Just take your family. Just imagine a family, like a family unit. Could you imagine a family that these were the characteristics of the family? Like you just make up a family. Like there's the Jones family, right? What characterizes them? Love and joy and peace and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness. And like, do you think that family would be happy? Yeah. And Paul says the reason that you know this, the reason this is kind of intuitive to you, is because you were designed this way from the very beginning. Like your divine design was for you to give yourself away. And you know this, you see this, right? You go to a funeral, right? We don't like to go to funerals, but you go to a funeral, right? And you go to a funeral, and at the end of someone's life, after whatever they've done, whether they've been successful or, right, it always comes down to what is the value of that life? Like, what do they really talk about at a funeral? At the end of it all, no matter how much money they made or success they did, what do they really talk about at the end of the life? They say this: the value of a life is always measured by how much of it was given away. How much did they give? How much did they serve? How much did they help? As we wrap up this message series, it happens, right? Life happens, right? Things happen. It's true. It's been interesting as we've thought about this idea of dreams and purpose and meaning and reason. It's been powerful in my own life, and I've heard from so many of you through email and conversations and feedback. It's like, what is it that has resonated with us? Like, why does this kind of conversation resonate with so many of us? And I believe the reason, and I've heard many say this, I believe the reason is that this is stuff that we actually battle and fight every single day. That we wake up every morning, and your natural inclination, and again, I'm not pointing fingers at you, this is me. My natural inclination is to start thinking about me. What am I going to do today? How can I help me today? How can I fulfill my needs today? How can I satisfy what can I do to feel good about myself today, right? And it's just this natural flow. It's like this river that's flowing, and if you just let it flow, you'll just go with the flow. But deep inside of us, right, even if you're not a Jesus person or a follower of Jesus yet, you're still just exploring, like there's something deep inside of us that says there has to be more. There has to be more than just chasing some dream or trying to reach some income level or drive some car or look some way or do that. There has to be just more than that. There has to be something stirs inside of us. We know that there's something different, that there's something more, that even if our wildest dreams came true and we had whatever kind of boat we wanted and lived in whatever kind of house we wanted, we always know that there still would be something that would be empty there, not full and not happy. But here's the great news. The great news is we can know this. We can know this, that Jesus teaches, the New Testament teaches, research, right? Not even based on the principles of Jesus, comes to the same conclusion that Jesus said thousands of years ago, that you can know this. You don't have to fall into the trap. You don't have to be deceived. You don't have to believe the lies. You don't have to. You can know this. And I believe that today, as we wrap up this teaching series, that there's an invitation. There's an invitation for you, and there's an invitation for me. And I think it's real simple. This is not complicated. I think the first invitation is, hey, you can give your life away. You can give your life away. Your life doesn't have to be about, it's not too late. Whatever you've done, whoever you hurt, whatever, you don't have to give up. You can give your life away. And I was thinking the past few weeks, just in my life, about what are the most memorable moments in my life? What are those defining moments in my life? Have you ever slowed down enough to think about that? You know what it always came down to? It was either when someone, a parent or someone that mattered in my life, a significant person in my life, did something for me. Right? They were the giver, right? They poured into me, and it was this moment of like, wow, somebody believed in me, somebody gave to me, or a moment where I was pouring into someone else, right? Those were like, when I think about my life in the moments, I go, wow. So my question to you and me is, who this week do you need to give your life away to? Who do you need to pour into? Maybe today, Father's Day. Who is it that you need to give your life away to this week? Here's another invitation. I think this invitation is available to all of us this morning. I believe there's an invitation from Jesus. He says, hey, you want to find these fruits of the Spirit? You want to find peace and joy and kindness and good? Are you tired of the other stuff? I think there's an invitation from Jesus to say, hey, I want to invite you into a relationship with me. That you can be in a relationship with me and you can find true peace and true joy and true life and true kindness and goodness. And you can stop chasing all of that other stuff that's ultimately going to lead to emptiness, to unhappiness. He says, you can find me. And I know there's some of us in this room today, we need to say yes to Jesus. We need to quit chasing whatever that dream that's going to lead us to emptiness. And we need to say yes to Jesus. And I think that invitation is available to you and me today. Say, I'm getting off of that. I'm getting off that treadmill. I'm getting off of that trying to fill myself and trying to do this for myself. And I want to say yes to Jesus and find true joy and peace and kindness. You ever just met someone and you know their life, right? You know kind of what's going on. You know it's busy. You know there's stress. You know there's financial pressures, family pressures. But you just meet them and you're just around them and there's something different. You know what I'm talking? It's almost like one of these things I have a hard time explaining because you just kind of feel it. It's more like it's kind of like a feel kind of thing. And you're just like I know you and I know what's going on in your life and you shouldn't just be this calm. You shouldn't be at peace. Like, what is that? Right? People that experience true, not like fake peace, but like true peace. Right? There's something that happens when you're in an authentic, real relationship with Jesus. It doesn't mean your life's easy and you got it all figured out, but there's something from the depth of your soul that just gives you peace. And so some of you need to say yes to Jesus today. You need to quit whatever you're trying to get and gain and all that stuff. You just say yes to Jesus. Here's the last invitation, then the band will come up. The invitation, I think, for all of us is to be part of something bigger. I think God plants dreams in our hearts, right? I think they're good. I think they're good. We should have dreams. We should want to succeed, right? That's not what we're saying. But I think that God is calling each and every one of us to something bigger. If your dreams are only about you, if your dreams are only about what you can do, then your dreams are too small. Your dreams will never fulfill you. They'll never make you fully happy. They'll never make you fully content. You'll never experience true joy and peace and all these things. If your dreams are just about you, they're too small. And so the invitation for you and for me is to invite it into something bigger. You're invited into something bigger. You're inviting something that's bigger than you. In fact, I would say this, that you were created, I've been saying this from day one of this teaching series, you were created with a purpose, on purpose, for a purpose, and that purpose is so much bigger than just you. I believe this is the picture of what we're trying to do here at Miami Church. This is the picture of our vision, our mission, right? We're trying to be a church in the city, for the city, and we're trying to help as many people as possible find and follow Jesus, and we're trying to serve those who are under-resourced. We're trying to help those who need help, people whose marriages are struggling, people who are struggling with their kids, people who are struggling in their jobs. And I believe that you're here for a reason and that God is calling you to be part of something bigger, and it's bigger than you. And it's going to take other people. It's going to be part of something that's larger, something that has a grander vision. And so don't settle. Don't settle. Where have you settled? Where have you settled for a vision of your life or a dream for your life that's just too small? It's the easy way to go, right? Or have you just settled? This is good. It's okay. I'm all right. Not bad, not good, okay. Like, don't settle. Where have you settled in your life? I want to say a word of prayer over you. The team's going to come forward. And as we wrap up this series, It Happens, I just want to say a prayer over you that you would continue to relentlessly pursue the life that God has for you. And so, God, I look around this room, this Father's Day, this rainy day in June here in this great city, God, and I look out and I'm eyeball to eyeball with men and women and students who, God, I know that you love and that you care about, people that you're inviting into a relationship with you, people you're inviting to journey with. And God, I see so much talent and ability, so much purpose and meaning and significance, God, in this place. And God, I believe that you're calling all of us to something bigger and higher and grander. But every single day we fight this natural inclination, this natural flow, this natural just default to kind of be about ourselves and what we want and what we need. But God, you're calling us to do something bigger. And so God, I pray that you would burn in our hearts and our souls something deeper, more meaningful. that we could be part of something bigger together. Together. So God, thank you for your truth and thank you for your word. And so may your love and your peace and your joy and your patience, and your kindness and your goodness and your self-control, may it just rain down on us. May it just rain down on us right now. May we experience even today on this Father's Day in a tangible way, something that's not normal, something that's supernatural, something that's hard to even describe. Our friends would be like, what are you even talking about? God, but there's something deeper. It's so deep. It's like soul level deep, God. So God, we love you now. And we just, we thank you for the time we can gather today. And we pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.